Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's June 26, 2022, and I thought what I'd do is take an opportunity. It's morning here and I'm down by the beaver ponds, and I thought what I'd do is take a couple of minutes to try and respond to a couple of comments and questions that I've gotten recently over some of the videos. So I'll attempt to answer them as best as I can based on what I can recall of the comments and questions. So, the first thing that I will say is that, and those of you who've been around for a while know that this is just part of my standard responses to things. And everything, all the decisions that I make are based upon the ethics that we've come up with over time. Some of this has been stolen from permaculture, but it's self-care, earth care, people care, and future care. And self-care has to do with our own health and well-being, and thinking about our own personal futures, you know, a health span as opposed to lifespan, those sorts of things. Earth care has a lot to do with doing the repair work that we can do as our own individuals and not relying on government agencies or anyone else to try and take care of our precious resources that we have for us. People care has to do with, for the most part, working with people that we come in contact with. And this is part of it with YouTube, but one of the things that Thea and I are trying to do. I'm not a very social person at all. I'm someone who is an independent worker or can work in small groups. Not really good at socializing at all. I don't enjoy social events. So whatever I can do on YouTube to try and share my thoughts, my experiences, so that if people choose to adopt some of these things, that's one of my ways of trying to address people care. Aside from things that we can do in our local community, because some people, neighbors, will come to me when they find a wood duck or an injured raccoon, or have questions about their livestock, those sorts of things. I'll do the best that I can do with those things. As far as earth care goes, like I've mentioned, it's trying to do all that we can do, and YouTube also helps us to spread the word. Like lately I've been talking more about hugelkultur pits as opposed to large burning piles and some of the things that we can accomplish with those. These things aren't for everyone, certainly. And then future care. It's sort of the Native American way of approaching things, as well as other cultures that I'm just not aware of, but looking beyond ourselves, our own children, our grandchildren, looking for at least 7 generations in the future and all. And so it really boils down to my goals are self-care, earth care, people care, and future care. Those are the ethics which all of our principles build upon those ethics. So I just wanted to start off with that, a bit long-winded, but that's one of the things that I wanted to say. And I'm not sure how the lighting is looking with this at all. But one of the questions I got, and I'm just going to turn the camera around some, it was from my brother Jim. And Jim, I really don't have a good answer for this, but Jim had asked, geez, every year he has rats climbing up in his English walnut tree and chewing off the limbs on it. I have no idea what's causing that, Jim. I don't know if you're referring to rats being squirrels. Squirrels will be nice little predators for going after birds, and certainly one of the things I would say about walnut trees, it's going to bring in many different insects, and certainly our birds that consume those insects are going to come to those, and a predator may want to go up and gain access to those small birds that are up there as well, or their nests. So that's a possibility. Chewing the limbs and all, I have no idea about that. So that's the first question I had. Another question I had from Arcs and Sparks asked about when we did a drone shot and we were looking at the property over here that we purchased and all. One of the things that could be seen just over that heron's nest there, you may not be able to see, And you may be able to see in the distance some of those heron nests up above. Thea and I were down within the last couple of days and took the binoculars, and we could see all the baby herons and the rookeries around here, which with this GoPro camera you're just not going to be able to appreciate. But Arcs and Sparks asked, geez, is that what we call it auto salvage nowadays they're called, but they're junkyards is what we called them when we were young. And that's where you take your old vehicles and they take them apart and part them out. And so like when I needed a part for my truck or whatever, I'd go to them and pick up a part and all. So is that a source of pollution? Absolutely. Now regulations, state regulations have been a little more strict as far as regulating them. How far are those enforcements followed up? Not very well. So and that brings me to, well, let me say one other thing. The property next door over there, not too far from where our house is, but you know, way up there, so that there's some of the forest up in that direction. So we're talking northeast up there. Now it's a gravel mine, but and it was a gravel mine when the town owned it years ago. But when they dug out a pit, they would use it as the town local landfill. And this goes back to the horse and buggy days, all of those days, which there weren't all of the contaminants that you'd worry about, but we have multiple sources of pollution. We're downstream from all of the runoff coming off from all up in this part of the country. So there is the Oswego River runs along in this direction, but the water that doesn't make it into the Oswego River, and there are a couple of large mills that were on the Superfund sites that have hazardous waste, that water works its way down in this direction. And it takes years for that material to get out. And so one of the things that I was talking about before was earth care, future care, and people care. Trying to get these deer fly here. One of the things we're trying to do, and I've talked about bioremediation and all, is utilizing what naturally would evolve over time. So as I talked about, this was all dry land except for a little stream that used to come through here years ago, work its way through and out this way. And then when the beaver came in and they did their part to go ahead and build this beautiful set of beaver dams here and create habitats, this creates a beautiful amount of sediment that fills in all the low voids. And as I've talked about before with soil, one of the benefits of soil is there's more water retained in the soil in areas that haven't been eroded than what is maintained in the ponds and lakes and streams. So by having the sediment gradually building up, and this pond will, over the next 100 years, will turn into a large sediment trap in here. So if you go back to videos, recent ones talking about Lake Mead, as the droughts continue year after year, you're gonna see that there's many feet of sediment in the bases of these areas where there were hundreds of foot of water. So that's part of the natural systems that develop. All of this sediment that's here is building wonderful aquatic microbial communities that are doing bioremediation. All of the margins around the sides of these ponds are all natural bioremediation systems that are breaking down all the toxins that are in the areas and all. So, you know, with the nature's engineers and architects coming in, talking about our state mammal, the beaver, they're doing just amazing things for our environment, for people care, because we do need more water. We're having more and more droughts as the climate changes here. And by cleaning the water And what happens is, as the water sits here longer and longer, and it saturates the marginal soils, and it gets purified as the noxious chemicals that would otherwise not break down for long periods of time, they're broken down by the microorganisms and by the plant life that are here. One of the things that's going to happen is they're broken down into their basic elements, and they're less. You know, we used to say the solution to pollution is dilution, and the truth is there's some sense to this. But if we can break down those harmful compounds into their basic elements and they're diluted, it goes back to what's more of a natural system. So we're recharging the water, we're breaking down waste by these systems and all, and that's really wonderful. Sorry, I'm babbling on about this stuff. The other question I got, or comments I got, from Earl Shine, and I believe Earl's from Holland and all, and there's lots of strict regulations there as well. And there are pretty strict regulations here in the States. In America, you know, we're sort of the cowboy sort of mentality, as you can see in in the media, how a lot of our cultural groups here in the States do what they want, when they want, and so on. I'm not of that belief. I really go back to the ethics that I talked about at the beginning of this video. But Earl had asked, well, what about during times of flash floods and all? Isn't this going to do more damage downstream? And if you look at the at this area, the surface of the water is level, which makes sense, and the beaver build dams that have these wide dams that are level, and they build in natural spillways. So, and a spillway is a way of pacifying water. So you'll notice, if you watch the trail cam videos, you'll see right here that at times it gets flooded right down here. But this is their spillway. As the water up above comes down and exceeds the level of the dams that they built, they build in their own spillways. And you can see, even though we haven't had rain in a while, this is their natural spillway. And the trail cam is right up over there. So you'll see in some of those trail cam videos, you'll see this whole area being flooded down here, but it'll be dry up there. If you go back to a June video in 2019, I shot video footage of a flash flood that we had, where you get an enormous amount of rain in a short period of time that exceeds the capacity of systems. Down here, it was nothing. There wasn't any tremendous amount of flooding going across here. And one of the things that the beaver do is they use natural systems. So these are, the beaver dam walls are porous. So they're not watertight. Water is constantly moving through their dam system. And you may be able to see down here, see water down in this area. And so as the rains come through these systems, you'll actually hear the water going through this. And where did the beaver build this dam? Right along old stone mountains and all. So when man, our species, builds a dam, we often will build it in a valley. So there'll be a mountain range or a hillside on one side and a hillside on the other side, and we'll make a short dam because it's economically much easier to do. So if you look at dam systems that men make, or humans make, men and women make, we try to use as few resources as possible. That makes a narrower spillway potential, and that way it's more of a potential catastrophic event when we get tremendous storms, those once-in-a-century storms, where that happens. Whereas where the beaver, when they build their dams, they don't make them watertight, they're porous. The water works through it, but since it's all level, it's a tremendous spillway during one of those huge flash floods. So the water will passively pass over the dam, go to their next lower dam, and passively break over that next area there and all. Where does it get to be a problem? Well, it gets to be a problem when man-made culverts or subterranean water pipes, drainage systems, go across roadways and all. So as humans, we need to put in much larger systems that account for those 100-year storm events. So, you know, it's just one of those things that we don't do a good job designing. So Earl had also mentioned that, geez, what about your regulatory agencies, your planning board and all, and maybe your state agencies and all. So we have a planning board for our township here. They're mostly concerned about making sure that things are done for the economy here in our town. I've never been overly impressed with our local government. One of the things that I have seen in here is much of our wetlands, and I've done lots of videos on talking about water systems, ecosystems, the benefits of wetlands. And one of the biggest problems that we have is our wetlands being filled in, and then Walmart's being built, like we just had a few years ago in our township. But they're being filled in all around us here. And those wetlands are absolutely essential for reducing pests, some of the mosquito issues. And of course, many people have complete misinformation. They don't understand the biology and the science. Even some of the universities are misinforming people about like our, and I've talked about this before, our Eastern equine encephalitis, our West Nile virus and all, and we do spraying in here. If we put in the right type of ecosystems and the right organisms, allow them to re-inhabit some of our systems, and we have places where the predators of the mosquito larvae can work, that's going to help out a lot. There's many more mosquitoes being populated in buckets and old tires and little pools that sit there, and the time for the mosquito to repopulate, to give rise to more offspring is a very short period of time. And yes, diseases are spread this way. And now the wind's kicking up, so I went on another little tangent here. Years ago, Thea and I were licensed through the Department of Environmental Conservation. That's our state agency that takes care of our resources and all. And they were really a really impactful organization. But over the years, I've seen that they aren't really doing the things for our environment. An example would be, in 2003, I saw that the emerald ash boring insect was devastating our ash trees here. I contacted DEC several times. They said, no, it's not in our area, it's not an issue. No one even came out. I took photographs of the adult, lots of shots of the larvae as well, and still I got no response. Nowadays they're talking about, oh, it's in this area. We could have controlled it years ago. So not to poo-poo them. These agencies are expected to do tremendous amounts of things. There's lots of government and corporation pressures on them. Same thing with local townships as well. The economy really drives everything. So it goes back to us as individuals to do what we can to heal the earth as best we can. Water is life, and we need to take care of our precious resources. We need to take care of building soil. We need to clean our air and do as little burning of burn piles as I've talked about in recent videos as well. So that's one of the reasons that I'm making the videos that I'm making. And certainly I'm not trying to tell people what to do. I'm just sharing what we're doing, and everyone can choose on their own whether they think that that's worthwhile. So this video is getting awfully long here. So as individuals, I find myself as being responsible to do all that I can for self-care, earth care, people care, and future care. Will I get everything right? No. Will I try my best? Yes. Will I learn from my mistakes? I certainly hope so. So that's the end of this video. Sorry it got to be a long-winded one, and hopefully the wind wasn't too bad coming across here. Thanks so much for watching, folks, and have a super fantastic day. Stay safe. Think about your own ethics. Think about what you can do to impact the environment around you, whether it's working in your communities, getting on the town board where you work, or the city council, whatever it may be, and facilitating change that way. This is my way of having an impact, and hopefully it's beneficial for the people, the earth, and future generations. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe and take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye now.